Good morning, everybody. Matt Modi here to give you my favorite NBA player prop picks today. We're talking Wednesday, February 5th. The splash zone is back in your life. I'm going to have 6 NBA player prop picks for you guys to lock in. It's a pretty massive NBA betting slate today, so I have a little bit more on the card than I normally do. Obviously, let's hope that ends up being a good day and come to fruition in terms of positive results. Before we can get into today's picks, we do got to do a recap from yesterday, which was a fine day overall. Not the best day we'll ever have, but we were up a unit, and any day you can bet on the NBA and make money, I'll take it. We cashed out Donovan Mitchell and his ladder climb, which is why we were able to have a profitable day. Over 25.5 and 30 plus points cashed. We also cashed out Vooch over 10.5 rebounds. And then we lost Amen Thompson points. We lost Karl Anthony Towns assists. So up 1 unit yesterday, which now brings our entire profit on the season up over 24 units on the year, which is decent. We had a pretty good January, up like 14 units in January. And then so far in February, we've been up, I think, like 4 units or so in the month of February. Obviously, we're 5 days into the month. But everything's fine. Not a terrible month, not an amazing month. Hopefully, we do have an amazing one. But that's enough of that. We can start getting into today's bangers. And what I have up on the screen here is Props Madness. This is the tool that I use literally every single day for my NBA bets. If you're interested in checking them out, I put a link in the description of the video as well as the pinned comment. If you end up wanting to sign up, and you can get a 7-day free trial, it would help me out personally a ton if you used the promo code MODI, all caps, M-O-D-I, just my last name when you sign up. Helps support the channel, all that stuff, and I can get you 25% discount. But enough of that. Let's start talking bangers. Play number 1, I do have a play in this Cavaliers versus Pistons game. I'm going with Jaylen Durren, and I'm taking him on the rebounds. So I was able to get this at plus 115. It's now down to plus 107 if you use BetRivers, or plus 105 at FanDuel. I would still take it at plus 105. I'm still good taking it at that number, and you might even be able to get the plus 115, because sometimes FanDuel is weird with their odds, where if you go to like 12 plus rebounds on FanDuel, it sometimes has a different price than if you go to over 11.5, which I know sounds stupid, but FanDuel does it all the time. So make sure to check out both those numbers. You might still be able to get the plus 115 that I got. Either way, I'm good with taking it at plus 105. So he's only hit it in 10 of his last 24 games. 40% hit rate isn't amazing, but you see a stretch here where he missed it in 5 straight games. I mean, 11, 10, 11, came close. If you look at his last 10, he's cashed it in 6 of his last 10, which looks good. And the most important thing here is in this stretch, he had a game against the Cleveland Cavaliers where he had 16 rebounds on 23 rebound chances. And the reason why I think this is important, A, because it's the exact same matchup that he has today against the Cavaliers, and the Cavaliers are a team that you want to target for center or rebound props. One thing that I love about Props Madness is that you can look at similar player profiles and how those players have performed in this exact matchup. So right now we're looking at players with a similar rebounding profile to Jaylen Durren. 8 of 15 isn't amazing. It was 8 of 13 before Bam hooked on the rebounds with only 9. But then we see like guys kind of smoking their over. Durren, 16, over under 10.5. Anthony Davis, 13, hooked to the over, but still 13 rebounds. Jokic, 14 rebounds. 2 guys that aren't really that great of rebounders, both went over or under by a pretty big amount. 4 rebounds, both for Clarkson and Valanciunas. But you go down the list, you see some pretty big rebounding performance. Now, Durren did miss this. This was the first game of the year, October 25th, first game of the year. His role was kind of hit or miss to begin the year, which is much more solidified now. Like, as you can see, he averages about 25 minutes on the year. But in his last 10 games, he's playing closer to 30 minutes. And that's the biggest thing for Durren. Is he going to get the minutes? And I think he will. He's been good recently. He's been staying out of foul trouble, which is the biggest issue with him. And again, he had 23 rebound chances last game against the Cavs. And they lost that game by 19. So it wasn't like, they got smoked. It wasn't like that game was amazing. Played 29 minutes, so it wasn't like he played an outlier minutes or anything like that. And you look at his rebound chances. If you look at just in games which he's had like 18, he's gone over in 60% of games, 58% of games, which he's had at least, 60% of games, which he's had at least 20 or 18 rebound chances, which is 5 fewer than what he had last game. So I really like this one for Jaylen Durren. This is our first bet. Jaylen Durren over 11.5 rebounds or 12 plus, depending on where you can get the best odds. Next up, I don't have a play in Bucks Hornets, but I do in Spurs versus Hawks. And I'm going with the Wemby on the point. So I was able to get 25 plus for plus 100. That was at DraftKings. That number looks to no longer be available. You can get minus 108 at BetRivers or minus 110 at FanDuel. I would still take it there. I'm good with that. I'm not scared off of that number or anything like that. The reason why I like Wemby, now to get the risk out of the way first, number one, I mean, he had a pretty brutal stretch here where he missed this in like 7 straight games. He's cashed it in 3 of 5 since then. So he's come out of that mini slump a little bit. But to get the negative out of the way, aside from that, if De'Aaron Fox, this is his first game with the Spurs, we don't really know what the Spurs are going to look like with De'Aaron Fox. So if Fox ends up being much more of a playmaker and tries to set up Wemby, 25 points is going to be amazing. If Fox ends up taking away a lot of these shots from Wemby and Wemby tries to kind of be a little bit more of a playmaker to placate Fox, then this isn't going to look good. The reason why I love this play is because of the matchup. Now, when you're on Props Madness, you hover over the matchup and it'll kind of give you all the information that you need. And what we see on the screen here is a lot of green. So you go to opponent stats and we'll just walk through them. So D rank versus DPT, defensive rank versus the player's play type, in this case Wemby, that leads to the majority of their points. Transition. Wemby scores the majority of his points in transition. The Hawks are the 7th worst transition defense. They're 24th in terms of how they defend transition. That's good. We go down. Defensive rank versus DPT2. So this is the play type that attributes to the 2nd majority of his points. The 2nd most of his points is the pick and roll roll man. They're the 10th worst defense guarding the pick and roll roll man. So the top 2 play types for Wemby, the Hawks are a bottom 10 defense guarding both. And we go down the line. D rank versus DSZ. So this is giving you the defensive rank versus the shot zone. So where on the court does Wemby score the majority of his points? The above the break 3-pointer. Guess what? 30th. The Hawks are the worst, number 1 worst defense in the NBA guarding above the break 3-pointers. That's where 42% of points from Wemby come from. And then we go to the next one, D rank versus DSZ2. So the shot zone in terms of the 2nd most of his points. That's in the restricted area. 33% of his points come from there. They're the 4th worst defense. So basically for Wemby, it's either a 3 or a dunk, and the Hawks are bad at both. They're also bad guarding transition and the pick and roll roll man. It's an amazing matchup for Victor Wembanyama. I mean, he just put up 42 points against the Hawks last time these two teams played. Now, this was in the middle of Wemby's absolute hot streak where he just was on fire for like 15, 12 straight games. He's cooled down since then, but then he's picked it up a little bit as well. So I'm not scared off of the fact that he's cashed it in 2 straight because he was so cold prior to that. And he just couldn't shoot. I mean, 7 of 19, 9 of 22, 4 of 10, so didn't even bother shooting in this game. 10 of 17, 5 of 19, 8 of 19, just some pretty gross shooting performances, which he's not coming out of. And he's got Fox, he's got an amazing matchup. So I like for Wemby to score 25 points. I was close to taking him 30 plus as well, but we already have enough units risked tonight, so I didn't do that. But I think that is a good look if you want to go Wemby 30 plus. That's play number 2. Next up, I don't have a play in Wizards Nets. I don't even know who's playing in that game. I do have a play in Sixers Heat, and I took Paul George, and I took him on the assists. So I took Paul George over 4.5 assists. You can actually get a better price. So I got it at plus 115. You can now get it at plus 120. So you can get an even better price than what I got at DraftKings at plus 120 odds. Now, the thing with Paul George, I mean, yes, he's missed about a week now, 10 days with a broken finger. He left early in this game, so don't take anything out of that game. He left early with a broken finger. He's questionable to play tonight. We don't know if he's going to play or not. The fact that they have odds for him and they haven't yet in the past is telling you that at least the books are expecting him to play. But if PG gets ruled out, doesn't end up playing, no problem. We just get this play refunded. No issues there. The reason why I like the play, A, is the matchup. I mean, you hover over the Heat. They have allowed the 10th most or 9th most assists just overall. The Heat, they play an aggressive scheme. They try to not let the ball handler score a lot against them. So they allow a lot of catch and shoot, a lot from the corner. The Heat, I mean, like they're bottom 12 in both corners. Not that I'm saying that helps PG, but that is an assisted play. They're also in a catch and shoot team, and they allow a decent amount off the spot up. You see the 7th most points per game allowed to the spot up. Those are all assisted plays, which is what the point I'm getting across. And Paul George, you look at games without Embiid, who's out tonight, and with Maxey, who's playing, he's recorded 5 or more assists in 10 of 15 games. And this was a thing we saw a lot. Like when Embiid was out and it was George and Maxey took a lot of the scoring load and George took a lot of the playmaking load. Now Maxey's been a lot better as a playmaker recently. Like you look at his assists recently, they've been really good. I mean, he had just in general like 13 assists last night. He's been really good as a playmaker, but generally when Embiid is out and Paul George, so with Paul George without Embiid, his assists have been good recently. At the beginning of the year, they haven't been as good. And look at his point prop. I mean, it's set at 30.5. He scored 27 or more points in like 10, 15 straight games with Paul George without Embiid. So I like PG on the assists. It's a good matchup. He cashed it last time against the Heat. Granted, Embiid did play in this game, but he still did get the 5 assists. And again, it's 10 of 15 games and really 10 of 14 if you take out that Bulls game because he barely played because he got hurt. Like we just look at games where he's played 20 minutes. That literally just takes out that Bulls game. It's 10 of 14. So it's a good matchup. It's a good hit rate. I like the fact that he's going up against the Heat, who are a team you want to target for assist props. That's our third pick of the video. So moving on, play number 4. I actually have 2 plays. No, just 1 play in this Pelicans-Nuggets game. This one's a little bit risky. People are going to like this one. I went with Zion, and I went with his assists. So this is the exact bet that I got. No line movement here. Zion over 5.5 assists, plus 115 odds at FanDuel. Now, the hit rate, people, I get it. This looks disgusting. Only 5 of 14 games has Zion had 6 or more assists, and only once did he even have 5 assists when he went under. Couple things here. Number one, DeJounte Murray played in the majority of these games. Brandon Ingram is also out. Those 2 guys do play make a lot for the Pelicans. And I do like this matchup for Zion a lot as well. You hover over the Nuggets, the most assist team in the NBA. They've allowed the most assists in the entire NBA. And this all started, at the beginning of the year, they were getting cooked by big guys, more so centers than like a power forward like Zion, but they were getting cooked from a points perspective. They changed up their defense, kind of similar to the Heat, much more aggressive, getting the ball out of guys' hands. And assist props have just been a gold mine against the Nuggets. Now, it's mostly been center assist props, but for this game, I like it for Zion to get 6 assists. Now, again, the 5 of 14 hit rate looks gross, but he's played a lot of tough teams from an assist perspective. Like you look at all the games he's gone under, and you look at like assists allowed, 14th fewest, 18th fewest, so not terrible. 18th fewest again, 9th, 5th, 3rd, 13th fewest, 16th, so more so than average. If you just look at the games against like teams that are in the bottom 3rd, so I'm looking at teams between 20th and 30th in terms of assists allowed. This is another cool feature of Props Madness. You can do these types of filters. So I just want to look at Zion, literally the bottom 3rd. Teams that are bottom 3rd, that's exactly what it is. And assists allowed, 3 of 4. And the only game he missed was this last game against the Nuggets, where he had 5 assists on 8 potential assists. We're hoping for more than 8 potential, but we see 7 assists here, 6 assists here, 9 assists in this one. So I really like this play for Zion Williamson over his assist prop. It's a little bit of a weirder play. I'm guessing you won't see a lot of people on it, but I really like it. I also don't hate if you want to sprinkle a double-double on Zion Williamson as well, because I think he got close from the assists in one of these games, which is a good matchup against the Bulls. And then from a rebounds perspective, he's gotten double digits a decent amount. So I think that he could get a double-double, especially with all the guys out, especially with the Nuggets being a good matchup for at least for the assists. They're not as great of a matchup for rebounds, but yeah, I like this play a lot for Zion Williamson. And then the last thing I'll say is if you just look at similar guys, now Zion missed this last game. Prior to him, it was 6 of 8, and even 6 of 9 looks pretty good. And you look at the guys, I mean, they all make sense, right? Like Brandon Ingram in this exact matchup, whose role is kind of similar to what Zion will have tonight, he cashed. LeBron missed it in one game, but then Randall cashed it in a couple games. Scotty Barnes cashed it, and then Jimmy Butler missed, but Paolo hit it. So I like the matchup. I like the play for Zion. That's our 4th bet. And our 5th and 6th picks are both in this Warriors versus Jazz game. So the first one that I have is Jordan Clarkson, and I took him on the points plus assists. Now this is another one, and I got this at minus 105. So this is the exact bet that I took. No line movement here. You're able to get the exact same price that I got, minus 105 odds at both BetMGM and ESPN Bet. Now this is another situation where the hit rate people aren't going to like this one, but there's a very, very important injury news here, and it's Colin Sexton. He is out for this game. He just sprained his ankle last game, and this is his first game missed. Now, he hasn't missed a single game this year that Jordan Clarkson has played in. So we don't have any data on what it looks like with Jordan Clarkson without Colin Sexton. What I do know is that Sexton and Clarkson basically split minutes, right? They're almost never on the floor together because they're very similar players. So it's not a surprise if you look at the minutes for Jordan Clarkson that his last game in the most minutes he's played in a game this year was 35 minutes, the game and only game that he's played without Colin Sexton this year. So I'm not necessarily projecting Jordan Clarkson for 35 minutes, but what happens if he plays 25 minutes? His cash rate on the points plus assists goes up to 10 of 17 games, about 58% of the time. What if we go up to like 28 minutes? That's probably the most comfortable I'm putting, 28. 8 of 11 games in which he's played 28 minutes. And look at the times he's missed. I mean, 22, 23, and 21. He's come close in all 3 games. And I really like this matchup for Jordan Clarkson. I think it's a good matchup for both his points and his assist prop. So I figured, why not just combine the two? Now, it does look scary at first when you see that the majority of his points come as a pick and roll ball handler, and the Warriors don't allow a lot of points to pick and roll ball handlers. His player type isn't terrible. It's 6 of 12, but it's 4 of the last 5. So guys missed a lot more at the beginning of the year than they have recently. But them being top 5 in terms of points allowed to the pick and roll ball handler helps the assist number, because teams that don't give up a lot of points to the pick and roll ball handler normally are teams that also allow a lot of assists, especially a team like the Warriors, who their defensive net rating, I mean, they're top 10, but they're not the Timberwolves of last year. They're not the Magic or anything like that. They're a good defense. They're not an amazing defense. And so when he's not scoring off the pick and roll ball handler, well, guess what? He's assisting. And then free throws, they're average, but then spot up, 3rd most. Isolation, 6th most. Those are 2 important play types for Jordan Clarkson. And what I like is that the Warriors don't give up anything in the restricted area. Literally number 1, fewest points per game allowed in the restricted area. But they don't really have a rim protector. So why is that? They pack the RA, the restricted area. They do not let anything in the restricted area, which leads to these push shots being wide open. This is called the non-restricted area of the paint. You want to know who scores the majority of the points in this area of the floor on the Utah Jazz? Technically, it's Colin Sexton, who's out for this game, which makes it now Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson takes the most shots in this area of the floor for the Utah Jazz. And this number is going to go up without Colin Sexton, right? This is based on just an average. This is not based on games where he's played 25 minutes. So this number is going to go up. So it's a good matchup from him from a scoring perspective. And from the assists, I kind of already talked about it. He's hit his over. I mean, 3.5 is a low number, but he's hit it in 8 of 11 games in which he's played 28 minutes. He's hit it in 11 of 17 in which he's played at least 25 minutes. The matchup for the assists is much better. As you can see, like 5 straight have gone over against the Warriors. And that was after a stretch where nobody did anything. It's all based on how they play defense. The Warriors are generally an assist team. So Jordan Clarkson, over 23.5 points plus assists, I really like. And then our last pick of the video is in the same game and on the same team. We're going with Walker Kessler, and we're going with the rebounds. Now, I actually got this at minus 105. You can now get a better price at plus 100. But I still, obviously, if I like it at minus 105, I like it at plus 100. And if this plus 100 is gone, I'm good with minus 105. Walker Kessler has been awesome from a rebounding perspective recently. I mean, he's playing about 30 minutes per game in his last 24 games. I mean, and that's close to a season average as well. So there's really nothing scary there. He's gone over in 14 of his last 24 games, about a 60% hit rate. And the matchup is awesome. We've looked at the Warriors as a rebound team all year. Now, 8 of 15 doesn't sound amazing, but it's kind of interesting. Like 3 of the last 4. And then if you go even back farther than, like right now, it just goes to November 20th. The beginning of the year, the Warriors were like every center was smoking the rebound prop against the Warriors. That calmed down a little bit until recently. I mean, Pirtle 13. Gobert just hooked on the rebounds. 10.5 over under was, or he had 10 over under 10.5. Hartenstein 18. Richards 16. And Kessler's been awesome from a rebounding perspective. I mean, he just had 13 rebounds and 26 rebound chances last game. 15 and 25 the game before then he missed it in 2 straight games, 8 of 17, 10 of 18. Then he cashed it in 2 straight games. He's been really good. Injury news, I mean, Markkanen's questionable, but the rest of them are healthy. And even with John Collins back, his rebounds are still pretty good. I mean, 9 of 24 doesn't sound amazing, but his role really changed at this like December 6th mark. So his last 10, 7 of his last 11, 6 of his last 10, specifically with John Collins. So it's been better recently. And again, this is like the last 2 months, all of December, all of January with these 2 guys in the lineup. And it's a good matchup. Warriors are a center rebound team. We just bet Goga against them last game, and Goga had 14 rebounds on an over-under of 7.5. Now, not all these guys, according to Props Madness, have the same rebounding profile as Walker Kessler. This is just looking at the center position in general, but it's 11 of 15. So, like, centers are getting a ton of rebounds against the Warriors. So I really like it. And that's our 6th and final pick of the video. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, of course. Check out the links in the description of the video if you want to support the channel. Link to my Dub Club, which I send all my bets out for $5 a month. So whenever you hear me say, like, oh, I got it at this price, I'm referring to my Dub Club where I send all my bets out. And then also a link to Props Madness, as I already mentioned. I appreciate everybody for watching. Real quick, we can do a recap of what we have. It's Walker Kessler over 11.5 rebounds. It's Jordan Clarkson over 23.5 points plus assists. It's Victor Wembanyama, 25 plus points. Paul George over 4.5 assists. Jaylen Durren, 12 plus rebounds. And Zion Williamson, 6 plus assists. Thanks again, everybody. Make sure to bet responsibly and have a good one.